Ich darf alle ganz herzlich begrüßen heute zu einer englischen Ausgabe unseres HR Talks. I'd like to welcome everybody to an English-speaking HR talk on this Friday morning at 11:30. My name is Björn Negemann. I'm part of Congress Media, and we're an event organizer from Munich, doing until March, we have done normal presence business events, and since March, we changed certainly to a digital mode, doing a lot of digital virtual conferences, and accompanying this virtual conference with our talk formats, where I'm pleased and honored to welcome each week some special guests that I can talk with. And today, as we are here in this English mode, we have an international guest today. And I'd like to welcome here on the screen Tom Haak from the Netherlands. Hello, Tom.
Hello, Björn. Nice to meet you again.
Nice to meet you, and nice having you in our Friday HR talk here live. So, Tom, you are the founder and senior consultant of the HR Trend Institute. You are doing a lot of research on where HR is evolving and emerging, and what are the hot topics. And this is also the key topic for today's talk I'd like to talk with you about. You have a lot of practical experience, as you have been in different positions in the HR field before you started this Trends Institute, but maybe give a little bit background to the HR Trends Institute
of course.
Those who don't know it yet.
And what you see here is the headquarters of the HR Trend Institute. Right. So I'm locked up in my cellar in my attic for the last year. But my background is in international HR. I've worked for mainly for multinational companies like Philips Electronics and Aon insurance brokers and KPMG, companies like that. But the HR Trend Institute was founded in 2014. So for the last 6 years, basically what I do is I try to make sense of trends that are important for the people organization domain. I write about it, and I speak about it, and I work with HR teams to talk to them or with them about, okay, what can we do with all these trends? So those are the three things I'm doing, and Björn and I know each other already a couple of years because, well, sometimes I appear in conferences, so that's my life, and I like it a lot, to be honest. And I write a lot, and if you follow me on LinkedIn or on my website, you can always learn some things if you like it.
Yes, I'm very honored to have you in our small talk here, and we always had we had you already twice in our HR Innovation Summit with some exciting visionary talks on where HR is going. So, what do you see? You're following up these developments within the HR technology field, but also within the corporate units. What is your overall statement for the situation at the moment?
I think, generally, to be honest, HR is relatively slow in the uptake of and the use of trends. But in that sense, the COVID-19 crisis is in a sense a good thing. It also acts as a kind of accelerator. So quite some of the trends I've seen in the past years, but also I see currently, get a boost in the current situation. And urgency always helps. And that's one of the things which is sometimes lacking in the HR domain, because many of the HR subjects are a little bit too much in the future. We all know these subjects like talent management. Talent management is often about the future. Do we have enough talent for the future? So the urgency is not super high. But now there's more urgency. And we've seen that, of course, first thing with people, more and more people working from home. So that's urgent. And then we had to arrange things, and that has happening. That's not a big trend, but that showed that we could do things quickly, suddenly. So I think that is my take. What I see
as the urgency to change.
Yeah, and that I think will continue, because now, one, I think HR has shown in many organizations they can do things fast, where people said, "Oh, I didn't know that was possible," and that they moved in a sense more to the core of the organization, because many of the issues that are high on the agenda of organizations are issues where HR can contribute a lot. I mentioned a few. Of course, one is survival. Many organizations are in survival mode. And how do they survive? And that often leads to a focus on innovation. How can we renew our business? How can we do other things? Because what we did, well, it's no longer possible. A business like where you are in, Björn, and that's typically an example. If you wait till you can organize live conferences again, well, maybe you can wait a very long time. So you have to think, how can we innovate? How can we do different things? Innovation is typically a domain where HR itself also can contribute, because you need, how can you stimulate innovation wider in the organization? Innovation, a very obvious other topic is around resilience. Building organizations are looking at the current crisis, saying, well, we were not prepared enough. We were not able to bounce back quick enough. So new crises will come. How can we make sure that our organization is more resilient and that the people in our organization are more resilient? Well, there's a lot to say about that. I won't do that at this moment, but building, strengthening the resilience of people, or I always like to talk about anti-fragility, because that's even more positive. And that's anti-fragility is, Taleb found out that word. It's how can you benefit from crisis situations. The last one, and then I'll back to, but well-being, of course, is also higher and higher on the agenda. We see, and well, it's early days, but we already see signals that we can say, oh, everybody likes to work from home, but that is not the situation. Stress is building up. People are becoming more disconnected. So what is happening to the people in the new situation? And of course, not all the people work from home. There's also people who do work you can't do from home, but there often the stress levels have also increased. For example, in hospitals and those type of environments. So well-being, but it has closely connected to safety. How do we make sure our people, our clients, our other people who are that they are safe? So all those issues are urgent, and HR can contribute a lot. So that's good news.
Coming back to the first point about the crisis, and I mean, does this apply to all the businesses when you say certainly companies need to change and HR has to certainly contribute, but does HR contribute to this in a crisis in every company? Because I see in bigger companies where this big ship is just flowing and HR is doing their job, they don't really feel the urgency to change at the moment. Certainly they have to manage maybe bailouts or something, but not to change and to help in changing the business. Whereas in smaller companies, I see your point.
Yeah, yeah, so there's a variety. Yeah, so of course some organizations are not touched by the crisis, or they benefit. They're growing. Often the first, you could say, reaction is also in HR in crisis mode is to focus on things like layoffs. We have to get rid of people. HR, do it. We need regulations for people how they can work from home. HR, so it's firefighting a lot. So I see that also in smaller organizations. But as always, HR has to go beyond that. But I agree with you. Not everybody is doing that. And especially in bigger organizations, well, you see not only HR, but also wider than HR. I'll give you an example. What I've seen in many organizations is they say, okay, we cannot continue with our old practices because, well, that we are in a new situation. For example, meetings. We always had our Monday morning meeting from 9 to 11. That's no longer possible. Okay, now we'll do it online. That is not transformation. That is doing your old practice, in the new situation. While you could also say, well, this is a unique opportunity to look at the way we connect to people, the way we plan, the way we meet. And this is a good opportunity to get rid of all those standard meetings we have planned because many people found them boring anyway. We can do it differently now. Then you transform. Well, that is happening, but probably not fast enough. People are in their old mode. And I also see that in HR. We cannot do the one-to-ones live. Okay, then we'll do it in a Zoom meeting. That's not transformation.
But this implies that HR needs to get into the role of the transformation driver, into the driving seat, and taking up some terms and changing something. In the past months, we discussed also at our conference a lot of times that certainly this administrative task of the crisis, they consume so much time from HR people that they don't get into this transformation mode.
Yeah, I think that's I've heard always, and that's nothing to do with the crisis, but if I say it a little bit black and white, but most HR organizations, they always are too busy. They always say, but we are so busy with all the operational work. We have no time for strategic or transformational interventions. Give us more time, give us more people. Then we are your partner. Well, I think that's an excuse. So I don't buy that. It's always too busy. But you could say that's one of my other hobby horses. So interrupt me when you but I think HR basically, and that you see, and that's also one of the trends I outlined for 2021, that HR is going to be more split. And the split is the most important. So I see myself in reverse, so I point that the most important part is operations. Mm-hmm. But and that's the most important part. Most HR activities are in operations, and generally there's a lot of improvement possible in the operation area. More client focused, faster, more IT, more personalized, not forcing people in all kinds of interfaces they don't like. Well, you know that, but there's a lot to do in operations. That's one part of HR, most important part. Then there is the part of you could say, the change agents, the architects, the strategists, the people who are close to the veins of the organization. Say how can we contribute from the HR side to realize a transformation or to innovate better? But that's a small group of people. You don't need many people for that. The third area is around, in a sense, you could say, helping the people. Who are there to help the people? help the people to become better, help the people to cope with the situation, help the people to work in other. Well, that part is also forgotten partly by HR in the past year. Saying, well, yeah, but we are not there to we are not there to help the people. We are there to help management. So I think the split will help, because if you have it too much in one area, it's always the operations that sucks up the time. We know that. Because the urgent things that have to be done now. But you need also people. And then I will stop here. But you need people always. Good people can always do that at the same time. They can do operational work, but also rise above themselves and say, well, yeah, but what can I improve? How can I? Is it really necessary what I do? How can I do it in a clever? So it's also to do with the quality of the people, I think.
In the past, HR certainly already organized very much decentralized from the Dave Ulrich model into HR business partners who did some specialized jobs and so on. And certainly this was all from this administrative view, an organization from this administration view. So in a recent post you wrote about the trends next year, you said goodbye to the HR business partner. So with the focus to supporting the business, is this the end of the HR business partner?
But it's as I said, it's too many people that call themselves business partner. If you look at what they are doing and you look at their activities, well, a lot of those activities are not strategic
supporting business.
It's supportive, it's operations, it's chasing people, it's saying, hey, Björn, you did not fill in your form, or have you talked to Tom? And then, so a lot of that work that can go away. That should not be in the business partner's portfolio. And it's a trend that is already going on a longer time. Quite some large organizations, I won't mention names, but they had so many business partners. They said, well, what are all those business partners doing? Well, they were in management teams. They were every decentralized unit, as you said, at their business. So they diminished that group. They powered the operations. And they, in a sense, disconnected the business partner from the one-to-one businesses everywhere. So they said, well, we have a group of high-level HR advisors, you could say consultants, whatever you call them, but they are not necessarily connected to all the business lines. They focus on urgent issues at hand that need transformation. And then you need, so it's by business partner, but not all of them. So there's good news for some of them, but other people have to make a choice, because if you're caught in the middle, but if you're not very good in service, if you're not very good in one-to-one counseling, helping people, and you are not very good as a change agent and strategist, then you are, what are you?
Will this solve also the problem or the issue that we have also discussed during several talks in this series, that the top management is not perceiving HR really as a transformative, as a partner of transformation?
Yeah, and you could say whose
fault is it?
Well, who's for? I was going to say that, but who's to blame? And I think that's always two ways. Of course, you get what you expect, but it's also up to HR, and that's, I think, good news, because I think that's improving. We talked about that, but so to wait until say, okay, now management finally appreciates us, I think that's too passive. We can add a lot, but. I think the top managers also have a choice often. So you see, they also hire consultants, for example. And you see also top consultants on that level operating, because, and I don't object to that. I don't say everything needs to be internal. because also the operations, some organizations outsource operations to companies, and that can work very well. Not always, but it can work very well. So you don't have to. Also, the one-to-one helping people, well, it's not necessarily in the organization. Smaller organizations outsource that. They say, well, there are very good people who can help you, but they're not in our organizations. And that's one of the other trends on my list. One was bye-bye HR business partners. The other one was around that we have too high expectations of leadership and management. Too much one size fits all. And I focused that a little bit on coaching, but it's wider. Many organizations, bigger organizations, they say, yeah, all our leaders, all our managers should be good coaches. And then they force that. And they say, okay, they first make a leadership model. Well, you know those models, they're all the same, basically. But basically, all those models send the message, well, you have to be a rounded leader. You have to be visionary, but also you have to have eye for the detail, long-term, short-term, soft, hard. Well, we know that's a rare breed of people. And then generally the people who are very good in one or two elements, well, yeah, we need those as well. So let's not push too much. Let's say, okay, well, some people are very good at coaching, developing, helping people. Okay, let's assign those roles to those people. But some people are very good in client development, also at the top level. And that's often very important, because if you have no clients, well, you cannot survive as an organization. But there also HR is sometimes too obedient. They say, okay, everybody good coach, there we go. And then they organize a training and they organize the profile. They put it in the selection. And then in the end, well, the results are generally not super good. And then employees say, well, yeah, am I happy? I don't know. And then the manager says, what is HR doing? And HR is saying, yeah, management does not understand this. I'm saying it black and white, but
it's fine. Coming also from the mentioning of the employee and its happiness to the point of the new work of working, where a lot of people are forced into this remote work now, and teams are forced into this remote work. Employees thus also are forced into some kind of self-determined working mode. We decouple a little bit the strict processes we had before, certainly internally, where you have some paperwork done and forth and so on. So now it's more flexible. This certainly, for me, if it's done right, certainly there are also a lot of companies who just transform the old mode to the digital mode. This is not the right way. But with this, certainly, we empower a little bit the employee. This certainly also brings some new urgency to HR to focus more on this employee centricity, employee experience, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's a couple of things connected to this. One is, and that's one of the long-term mega trends, which is still super important. It's about personalization. You cannot push everybody in the same mode. And what you're saying is, yes, working from home, working in self-managed teams, that is fine, but it's not for everybody. And you have to take the individual capabilities and needs into account. Working from home is a good example. I've talked about that earlier. It doesn't make sense to say everybody needs to work from home, has to work from home. Because for some people, if you look at their work, it does not work well. People in creative professions, people who are working together with other people, developing new things, research, development. Well, it is a lot better for many of those people if they are close together. You can't say, okay, we're innovative on Monday morning at 10 o'clock. That doesn't work because you have an idea, you sit, and then I walk to you and say, "Hey, Björn, have a look at this." That's a lot more difficult in the remote. So it's the work, it's the personality. There are people who are, you could say, more extroverts. They hate it to be alone. They get energy from contact with other people. So some of those people are a lot better off if you give them the opportunity to work with other people. And then, of course, there's the home situation, because there are also people who have kids running around and partners on conferences call. Yeah, that's also not very good. So that's one element. The other element is that if you look, that's a good, self-managed teams, giving more authority, responsibility to the individuals and the teams, I think is a good thing. But we know from examples that sometimes people think that does not come with rules, regulations, and protocols, and that's not true. If you know, for example, there's a holacracy concept. That's a protected title, but that's a model. But you also have the Spotify model, for example. Mm-hmm. That's models to work in self-managed teams. They come with a whole lot of protocols you have to follow. It's not, okay, let's do it and then we'll see. No, it is, that comes with, okay, but...
there's a lot of regulations.
Yes, which is more necessary, because there's no boss saying, "Hey, Björn, what are you doing? And you have to do this." So you need the protocol. Say, we have a backlog, and we discuss that backlog every day or every week, and we look at the backlog, and then we say who's going to do what. But that's not automatically. That is something you have to learn, especially for people who are not used to work in that way. And there's the famous example in the Netherlands that always comes up of a company called Buurtzorg. That's Buurtzorg. They work as self-managed teams. It's nothing against that organization, but the work is relatively simple because all those people work alone. They go out and help people in their homes. So the most difficult part is scheduling. Who is going where? That's difficult, but it's not as difficult as working together in a team. But they are successful. But there was another company in the Netherlands, I think, called Cordaan. They said, okay, what Buurtzorg can do, let's do that as well. But they had a totally different population. Older people, more experienced people who had been working in managed operations for years. And they could not do that. So it doesn't work in every organization. And it comes with a lot. If you do it, you have to... Well, it comes with a lot of discipline.
Really? Thanks.
So this implies a lot of change management efforts on the HR side. Are the change management, are the HR departments equipped and enabled for this process?
Well, some of them are, and some of them are not. But and that's moving over time. And I think what we talk about, for example, important elements are agile working, also in this way. So this is, if you want to implement something like this, well, you have to say, okay, let's work with a couple of teams. Let's see how that works. What are the protocols we're going to follow? How can we guide and support those teams in their work? That's happening. It also has to do with, and we have discussed that many times, the importance of analytics. These are also days where HR can boost people analytics, because we have to find out what works and what does not work. And clever organizations already in February, March, they have increased their measurement efforts. They say, okay, we have to go faster because we have to find out what's going on. Which teams are operating well and which teams are not so good. What can we learn from the teams that are operating well, but also on individual level? Hey, what's happening with Tom? We see his engagement is going down. We have to intervene. We have to do something. And the risk of losing people these days is increasing. I've also you already that's for two sorry but that's for two reasons. One, people get more detached because they are at home. They don't see their bosses. They don't see their colleagues every day. So they get more detached from work. You have to make an effort to do that, but some companies are not so good in making that effort. Secondly, because people are working from home, that work can easily be transferred. And there are investment bankers from UK, US. They are poaching teams in the Netherlands at this moment because this is the time. The people are at home. They earn Dutch salaries, which are not super high. So you come with your UK and American salaries. Hey, do you want not a little bit more, but a lot more? And good news is you can stay where you are. Well, that's happening, and that's a risk. And then before you know it, Tom calls you and say, "Hey, yeah, I have another job." Oh, so there are risks, and that's again back to HR. Are you tracking it? Are you following it? Do you know what the temperature is for teams, for individuals?
Here we are in this feedback management and employee engagement measurement sector. I mean, we also at our conference, we've seen a lot of advancement during the last years already before Corona, but is it already enough? Are they enabled in this regards enough already to have constant employee feedbacks to really know how Tom is feeling at the moment?
Well, I think if you want it, I'm looking up some here. If you want it, it's super possible. So it's and I've seen organizations that do really simple things. There's an organization I know, and they basically sent an email to all their people, or they do it via Slack or whatever. But they sent a message to their people with two questions. One is the Net Promoter Score question. That's to what extent do you recommend our company and as an employer to your family and friends? 1 to 10 point scale. Secondly, what could we do better to help you to do your work better? What could we do? That's the two questions every week. And you don't need to buy software for that. You and I can build it in 1 minute. But if you do that and start doing that, of course, not everybody answers. Okay, well, yeah, you can track that as well. If Tom never answers, you say, hey, maybe let's have a look whether he's still there. Yeah, but so you can, and there are more advanced, and the advancement is that's also on my list for 2021. But there is a thin line between what you called employee feedback, but then it goes to employee monitoring, and you also see that increasing. That companies are saying, hey, we don't know what people are doing. We should know better. And there's a lot of software out there that is not there to measure my engagement, but it's more to control and to check what am I doing. And of course, with technology of today, especially for jobs that are behind the computer, that's very well possible. And what time do I log in? What am I doing? I have some, but I had a good laugh. But as some of those contracts, some of those companies, for example, are called. There's a company called Controlio. Well, then you know what kind of software that is. Controlio. That's not engagement software. That's or Interguard, Staffcop. I thought it was a joke, but it's real. It's a real. And then Work Examiner. That sounds a little bit more positive. But they say with our employee monitor software, you can easily track who do the job and those who tweet. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, so I think we should also be very careful with those type of solutions, because then it backfires. That will backfire enormously.
But I mean, using these kind of solutions shows that we're still in this historical thinking of command and control organization.
Yeah, but let's be real. It's not suddenly all the companies. Oh yeah, we trust our employees, and of course, that's not the situation. There's still many companies that say, well, yeah, let's control it. And that's not a small proportion, and that's not going to change super rapidly. So we should also be real. That's if you talk about employee happiness and let's be real. If your job is under threat and it's easy to talk about these type of things. But sometimes and we are in the luxury. Yeah, you are in Germany, I'm in the Netherlands. We are in countries where generally things are quite good, but in many countries in the world it's terrible. So then happiness is maybe a little bit lower on the list. But I agree with you. We should, and that's another element where I think HR should stand up. I called that for this year ethical leadership. HR has a role in these type of discussions. If your company says, let's install computer spyware, well, then HR should say, well, let's not do that. Let's do something, or that's not acceptable, or let's do something there. But they should not, okay, yeah, I'll make a selection of the best software. Yeah. Let's not take staff cop, because I don't think the people will like. But maybe we can white label that. But I think HR should stand up. And that's in many areas. Still, I'm sure also in Germany, for example, average pay of women and men in similar positions, women still earn less. Why? And HR plays a role there, and they accept it. There are brave companies that say, we don't accept that. We level that. We increase the salaries of women, and that's the end. But not many companies dare to do that. It's biases in selection in Germany. That's all. If you have in Germany, you have many people from different countries. But if you are called in the Netherlands, if your name is Mohammed, your chances of getting the job diminish enormously. And there are many good Mohammeds, or any other name. So it's even if you're female. But if you're people of color, people of refugees, people with disabled people, and their HR should not be too much service oriented. They should say, this is unacceptable. And that's also with well-being and safety. And that's why the monitoring is important, because the burnouts of people is already going up. People are lonely. Some people are lonely at home.
Where do we start to change? Yeah, also this type of thinking. I mean, there's always for me this. Yeah, what we discussed earlier already. Sometimes the top management imposes a process model for HR, and they cannot step out of it and do this more leadership and forward-thinking approach and
I think you sound a little bit more negative than I, in a sense. So I'm a little bit more. I see a lot of positive movement in the right direction. I think where to start is back to the earlier part of the discussion. It always helps to start with what are our burning business issues. It not going around saying you should not do this and this, but going with, and then say, how can we contribute to those issues? And not by saying I need to contribute, and but by showing that you can contribute. There it's also back to analytics, and because with analytics and good data, that helps enormously if you can show that, hey, we have tracked it. We have found out that certain teams are doing better than other teams. And everybody is interested to increase productivity, to increase output. So I think, where do we start? That's not not in the HR domain, but to start is in the business domain with the most important issues, and then go back, say, how can we help to solve those? But it's easier said than done. You need good people to do that. But also rowing a little bit against the stream, because if people say, yeah. But I think it's happening. There are many good examples. So I think that's good news.
So we missed out a little bit on the technological trends. Do you see anything coming up for 21 that is helping us to move forward?
Well, we talked already about the negative trend of the monitoring. That's absolutely technology. So, I think obvious. I think VR will break through. Yeah. Because this is the time when, for onboarding, for training, for all kinds of purposes, VR, AR can be of enormous help. So I think that is clear. Also, I expect a lot of more developments in the learning domain, because we already talked a lot about learning in the flow of work, and how can you get really close to the work people are doing, and how can you help? Well, that's early days. There's still a lot to be done, but technology can help enormously to do that. And especially also when more people are working remote and online, that enables you to do more technology things. In conversations like this, the technology can monitor you and I, and then give us real-time feedback on how to improve this conversation, for example, in the flow of work. Well, there's a lot. So I see a lot of opportunities there, and they will get more of a boost, I think, also in the coming year, because many of the learning and development solutions are still very old-fashioned. We talked about it a little bit. There's no transformation. It's okay. We can't do a course in a classroom. Then we'll transfer the classroom to Zoom. But that is not transformation. That's an old-fashioned course in Zoom.
We need this flipped models, and so everybody is deciding on his own what to consume as a learning.
And connected to the work. And I think that's, I don't know how you view that, but I think that there's a lot of opportunities there, and the other technology,
and this also implies again connecting this also with data analytics capabilities. So
absolutely, learning analytics.
What people are working on and suggesting and recommending something that they can use to expand their skills.
The other element I mentioned, if we still have time, is on the technology side, is the whole area of skill mapping. Skill mapping is around, and I simplify it enormously, but we have too many people in some areas. For example, in the Netherlands, many financial institutions have too many people. There is still scarcity in other domains. So now if you do real good skill mapping, you can see, well, where are skills that are more or less adjacent? Skill A, well, generally people who do A can also do B very well. A, no jobs, maybe jobs in B. So with technology, you can help people to move to areas or to develop into areas where there are more opportunities. So skill mapping and technology-wise, also in the recruitment domain, that's already happening. That clever job search sites say, well, where are the skills company you are looking for? They are in Munich, but don't look in Hamburg because those skills are not there. That's real mapping. That's a different way of mapping, but that helps also to, in your search, where can you find the people with certain skill sets? So I think that will also give a boost, also in both in the redeployment of people, but also in the recruitment and selection arena.
So finalizing, you would say, is it 21 will be a good year for HR because they have a lot of opportunities to.
Yeah, potentially, absolutely. So, but they have, as you say, we have to live up to the expectations. But we can do that with technology, yes, but also by, being proud of our work and being proud of what we can contribute and not being too modest.
Where can we learn more about your thoughts?
Yeah, so on my website, hrtrendinstitute.com, but also LinkedIn. If you link with me on LinkedIn, you get also all the. I also have a YouTube channel, so I'm relatively easy to find. If you Google Tom Haak trends, then you will find a way in.
And you also have a nice newsletter with also with updates on your trend visionaries.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great.
And if the times come back, I speak in conferences like your conferences, Björn.
Yes,
so.
That's for sure. Great. Tom, thank you for your time. And we discussed a lot of, and I've checked. We had some viewers certainly there on Facebook. Some likes, but no questions. But we discussed a lot of. I think we drew out a broad vision what HR can do in 21.
And if people have questions, they can always send them.
Yeah, great. Thank you for this talk. Thank you for everybody following us and listening to us. And we have another HR talk next week, again in German. See you next week and stay safe.